She was clearly just an ordinary-looking girl from a small town. Yet after one chance encounter, she somehow ended up with a billionaire CEO, never realizing that behind this seemingly perfect man lay a secret he could not openly reveal.
If you agree to be my submissive, I will be devoted to you. This is what I want. I want it with you.
One day, Hannah was given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to interview the legendary billionaire Christian in place of her best friend, but what she never expected was to embarrass herself the moment they met. What shocked her even more was that Christian was not only incredibly young, but also flawless in both looks and physique, to the point that Hannah found herself staring in a daze. It was only when Christian gently helped her up like a true gentleman that Hannah awkwardly snapped back to her senses and hurried to explain why she had come.
Miss Kavanaugh has the flu, so she asked me to fill it.
Yet unexpectedly, Christian did not make things difficult for her at all, and instead gave her a full 15 minutes for an exclusive interview. Hannah was instantly overwhelmed and flattered, so she quickly pulled out the questions she had prepared in advance and got ready to begin, but because she was far too nervous, she accidentally blurted out an unbelievably awkward question.
Are you gay?
It immediately left Christian both amused and speechless. Realizing that her question had been far too abrupt, Hannah instinctively bit her pencil lightly, trying to hide how embarrassed she felt inside. What she did not know was that this seemingly childish little gesture made the usually composed Christian's heart race uncontrollably. Even though those 15 minutes passed in the blink of an eye, Christian still looked like he had not had enough. So in order to get to know Hannah more deeply, he not only asked his secretary to cancel the meetings that followed, but even took the initiative to invite her to join his company. Faced with this sudden turn of events, Hannah had no idea how to respond, and before she could even finish all her questions, she fled the scene in embarrassment. Little did she know, their connection had only just begun. Just when Hannah thought she had ruined the interview, her best friend unexpectedly praised her and said she had done a great job. It turned out that Christian had answered every single question one by one through email. Although Hannah could not figure out what he truly wanted, her reason still reminded her that fairy tales did not happen in real life. But what she never could have imagined was that the very next day, Christian appeared at the hardware store where she worked part-time.
What a pleasant surprise, Miss Steele.
Hannah was instantly at a loss for words, because someone like Christian would normally never come to a place like this to buy things in person. In truth, Christian did have another motive, so while checking out, he deliberately brought up the previous interview. Sure enough, when he heard that Hannah's best friend was troubled over getting an exclusive cover photo, Christian immediately seized the opportunity and agreed to a photo shoot on the spot. However, on the day of the shoot, Christian had no interest in the camera at all, because his eyes remained fixed on Hannah the entire time. After the shoot ended, Christian naturally invited Hannah to sit down with him at a cafe. As the two of them, already drawn to each other, talked happily together, the distance between them quietly began to fade. However, just as Hannah was slowly falling deeper into the whirlpool of love, Christian suddenly walked away for no apparent reason. Confused, Hannah hurried after him, only to nearly get knocked down by a speeding scooter. Thankfully, at the critical moment, Christian pulled her into his arms just in time and kept her from getting hurt. As their eyes met, Hannah fell completely, but just when she thought the spark of love was about to take root in that very moment, Christian's next words came down like ice water, mercilessly extinguishing the warmth that had only just begun to rise in her heart.
You should steer clear of me. I have to let you go.
Hannah froze on the spot the moment she heard him, thinking that Christian had been playing with her feelings, so she angrily pushed him away and turned to leave without looking back. Never noticing the reluctance filling his eyes, she thought the two of them would never cross paths again. Yet that very night, Hannah received a mysterious package. Inside was the signed book by her favorite idol that she had always dreamed of owning. In an instant, she understood that this was Christian's way of making it up to her, and yet Hannah could not feel happy at all, because she could not understand why Christian had already backed away and still refused to stop drawing her in. So under the influence of alcohol, she simply called him directly, insisting on returning the book and pouring out all the frustration she had been holding inside. Christian had not cared much at first, until he heard the drunken tone in her voice, and a wave of unease instantly rose in his heart. He hurriedly ordered Hannah to go home at once, forgetting that there was no real relationship between them. Besides, Hannah had already had enough of his controlling attitude, so there was no way she was going to obediently listen, and she hung up on him right away. But what she never expected was that in the very next second, the high and mighty Christian called back.
I'm sorry, I didn't...
Stay where you are, I'm coming to get you.
What?
Even though his tone did not sound like a joke, Hannah still did not take it seriously, because the two of them were so far apart, but she had still underestimated how quickly he could act. Just as Hannah stepped outside to get some air, she unexpectedly ran into harassment from a man. Thankfully, at the critical moment, Christian appeared almost like a miracle, drove the man away, and then took the nearly unconscious Hannah back to a hotel owned by his company. When Hannah woke up, she discovered that her clothes had been changed, and a wave of embarrassment instantly rushed across her face.
Oh my God. Did we didn't...
Necrophilia is not my thing.
It turned out that Christian had not taken advantage of her at all, and had only helped her change out of her stained clothes after she threw up from drinking. But even so, Hannah's anger had not completely faded, and she bluntly told Christian that he had no reason to do all this, because she was not anyone special to him. Yet what she never expected was that Christian's next move made her eyes widen in shock.
If you were mine, you wouldn't be able to sit down for a week.
Before Hannah could even recover from that shock, Christian admitted that there was something unusual about him in one aspect of his life, and that he did not want to hurt her because of it.
You wouldn't understand.
Enlighten me then.
What she did not know was that this very decision would nearly destroy her entire life. That night, they began their first date together, escorted by bodyguards. Hannah arrived at the top floor of Christian's company building, but the moment the elevator doors opened, she was completely stunned by the sight before her. There, on the enormous rooftop, sat a private helicopter in extravagant fashion. It turned out that ever since learning that Hannah loved the night view of Seattle, Christian had quietly planned to give her an unforgettable surprise, personally flying her above the city so she could look down on Seattle glowing in the night.
No escaping now.
As the helicopter rose into the sky, the beauty of the entire city spread out beneath them, with lights shining everywhere and streams of traffic weaving through the streets. The view was so stunning that Hannah could not help softly gasping in amazement, and while Christian focused on flying, he kept turning his head toward her from time to time, his eyes filled with tenderness. Hannah's nervousness gradually faded away in that romantic atmosphere, replaced by sweetness in her heart, never knowing that beneath Christian's polished exterior lay a secret no one else knew. After a night neither of them could forget, Christian, still reluctant for it to end, brought Hannah back to his mansion, where the lavish decor looked almost like a palace. But before she could even recover from her shock, Christian took out a document he had already prepared and asked her to sign it.
It means that you cannot discuss anything about us with anyone.
Although Hannah felt offended, the gap between their worlds left her with little room to refuse. So in the end, she signed it anyway. She had thought that when emotions reached that point, what awaited her would be a deeply intimate moment. But instead, Christian led her to a hidden room.
It's important that you know you can leave at any time. I meant what I said. The helicopter's in standby to take you whenever you want to go.
Could you just open the door?
Seeing that Hannah's attitude remained firm, Christian slowly turned the key. Yet the instant the lights came on, Hannah was completely stunned. Inside the crimson-toned room stood an orderly display of all kinds of unusual items. As a well-behaved girl who had never seen anything like this before, Hannah finally understood what Christian meant by his unusual preferences. Even though the urge to back away flashed through her mind again and again, driven by powerful curiosity, she still forced herself to stay.
If you follow them, I'll reward you. If you don't, I'll punish you.
Although Hannah deeply longed for Christian's love, her traditional values made it impossible for her to accept something so extreme right away. Perhaps sensing Hannah's unease, Christian did not pressure her, and instead brought her to a room he had prepared in advance. She thought Christian would stay there with her, but what she did not know was that he had another unusual habit, which was that he never shared a bed with anyone. Then Christian promised Hannah that until she made up her mind, he would never cross the line. But unexpectedly, that promise was broken almost as soon as it was made. When he learned that Hannah had never been with anyone before, the possessiveness buried deep inside him was completely awakened. So the two of them kissed each other without holding back, and in that heated, dizzying night, Hannah gave herself completely to Christian. At that point, Hannah was already completely immersed in happiness as sweet as honey, believing that she had finally grasped an everlasting love. Never realizing that fate's cruel twists always arrive without warning, she discovered that inside Christian's mansion, there were several rooms exactly the same as the one she had stayed in, and Christian bluntly told her that as many as 15 women had spent the night there before. Hannah was instantly stunned, and a fierce wave of disappointment and bitterness surged through her heart. Even so, she still had no intention of leaving, because all she wanted was to have a simple, ordinary relationship with Christian, just like any normal couple. But to her surprise, Christian still insisted on sticking to his own rules.
If you agree to be my submissive, I will be devoted to you. This is what I want. I want it with you.
Realizing that Christian only saw her as a tool to release his emotions, Hannah angrily asked him to take her home. What she never expected was that while she was asleep, Christian secretly brought her to the park he often visited, and it was there that Christian confessed his love to Hannah for the very first time. Although countless women had surrounded him after he became successful, which was not unusual at all, no one had ever truly entered his heart, and none of them had even been allowed to ride on his helicopter, let alone sleep in the same bed with him. Even though Hannah's heart was full of conflict at that moment, she still could not resist Christian's burning gaze. So over the next few days, Hannah kept wavering between rejection and acceptance. But love comes without warning, and once it takes hold, it only grows deeper. And in the end, emotion overcame reason. In order to please the man she loved, Hannah had no choice but to go against her true feelings and sign that unequal agreement. Yet she had no idea that at this very moment, their relationship was quietly slipping onto a twisted path, like a bitter seed that had already been planted and would soon bear painful fruit. On the day of Hannah's graduation ceremony, Christian, as one of the school's sponsors, stood on the stage in all his glory, and his handsome appearance made countless girls fall for him at first sight. Yet Hannah,
I heard he's gay.
who was supposed to be Christian's real girlfriend, could only pretend to be a stranger and deliberately keep her distance from him. What hurt Hannah even more was that when the newspapers mentioned them afterward, she and Christian were described as nothing more than ordinary friends, as if to Christian, her existence meant almost nothing at all. That was until a brand new luxury car stopped right in front of Hannah.
Happy graduation, Anastasia.
Although Christian spared no expense in trying to make her happy, he failed to realize that material gifts could never fill the emptiness in Hannah's heart. After Christian left, she could only secretly call her mother and pour out the confusion she had been carrying inside. But her mother's words forced Hannah to re-examine their relationship. Perhaps the gulf between them was not a matter of class at all, but a lack of genuine respect. So Hannah took her mother's advice and decided to go home for a while to rest and carefully think about where this relationship was heading. But what she never expected was that this seemingly ordinary decision would touch Christian's most sensitive nerve. Because in this relationship that looked romantic on the surface but was actually full of inequality, Christian greatly enjoyed the feeling of controlling Hannah, and he could never tolerate her going against his wishes and making decisions on her own. So without caring about Hannah's feelings, Christian actually carried her out in front of her entire family by force. What he did not expect was that this outrageous act would finally completely enrage Hannah. She could not understand why two people who loved each other could not sleep in the same bed, and all she wanted was for Christian to love her like an ordinary person would. Yet even such a simple request was coldly refused by Christian once again. For certain reasons, he could neither confess his past to Hannah nor change himself for her, and all he wanted was for Hannah to follow the agreement, believing that this would be better for both of them. That completely broke Hannah's heart. So in the end, ignoring Christian's objections, she returned to her mother on her own. Perhaps realizing his mistake and unable to stop worrying about her, Christian eventually followed after her. To show his sincerity, he actually booked the entire town airport, just so he could take Hannah away and enjoy this rare chance to be alone with her. Even though the mountains were beautiful and the world sparkled around them, that fleeting happiness still could not outweigh the sorrow of losing herself in such a distorted relationship. And it was on that very night that Christian finally gathered the courage to reveal the secret he had buried in his heart for many years. It turned out that his biological mother had not only been a sex worker, but also an addict, and she had passed away when he was only 4 years old. Those shadows from his childhood had been branded deep into Christian's soul like a scar, becoming a nightmare he could never escape, and they left him unable to truly love anyone, so that he could only find brief relief by inflicting physical pain on others. Christian's words struck Hannah's heart like a hammer, and in that moment, all those times when he had seemed cold and distant suddenly made sense. For the fortunate, childhood heals a lifetime, but for the unfortunate, a lifetime is spent trying to heal childhood. Looking at the broken man before her, Hannah's eyes were filled with heartache, and deep down, she quietly made an important decision. So after returning to Seattle, the very first thing she did was go to Christian and tell him what she had decided.
I need you to show me what you want to do to me. Punish me. Show me how bad it can be. I want you to show me the worst.
Hannah naively believed that perhaps only by doing this could she truly step into Christian's world, but she forgot that real love should be mutual, not something built on self-sacrifice and compromise. It was just that Christian understood this far too late, and at this very moment, all he could bring Hannah was endless pain and humiliation. Even though Christian kept apologizing to Hannah, none of it could be undone anymore. At that moment, Hannah was no longer confused. Even though she still deeply loved Christian, this twisted relationship had become something she would never want to touch again for the rest of her life. So early the very next morning, Hannah calmly returned the car keys to Christian, then turned and walked away without ever looking back. Even though Christian still could not stop himself from chasing after her, hoping to make her stay. But the moment he met Hannah's resolute eyes, no matter how unwilling he was inside, he could only stop in helpless silence. Perhaps leaving her alone and no longer disturbing her was the last tenderness he could give her. After all, sometimes love means letting go. To love someone is not to change them, nor is it to keep wronging yourself. When two people finally realize they can never truly understand or accept each other, then instead of hurting each other over and over again, it is better to let go with honesty and peace. Just like Hannah's final choice, that sense of release was not only a farewell to the past, but also a hope for the future. In life, we will always meet some people we are never meant to stay with, but those experiences will become the nourishment that helps us grow, making us stronger and gentler on the next journey ahead. Because the most precious thing of all is finding your true self and loving and being loved.